There's a document that Citigroup tried to erase from the internet. It's called the Plutonomy Memo, and it was written for their wealthiest clients back in 2005. Inside, it describes a new kind of economy, one where regular people, you and me, are completely irrelevant. And the crazy part? Everything they predicted is happening right now. There are now more private equity firms than McDonald's in America. Half of all spending is done by just 10% of people. And your job? It's being standardized so you're easier to replace. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a leaked investment strategy. And once you understand it, you'll see the economy completely differently. Here's what they said. All right, so last quarter, the U.S. economy supposedly grew at 3.8%. Economists were thrilled, headlines celebrated, politicians took credit. But here's what they didn't tell you. If you actually crack open the report, which, spoiler alert, nobody does, you'll find something hilarious buried in the fine print. Imports crashed by 29%. Now, why does that matter? Because GDP is calculated by adding up consumption, investment, government spending, and exports, and then subtracting imports. So when imports drop, GDP goes up, on paper. It's like saying you got richer because you stopped buying groceries. Technically true, practically insane. Here's the kicker. That import drop boosted GDP by over 5%. Which means if we remove that accounting trick, the economy actually shrank by 1.2%. 2 consecutive growths of negative? Yeah, there's a word for that. Starts with an R. But even if we ignore the sketchy math, there's a bigger problem. GDP measures the size of the economy. It doesn't tell you who's actually benefiting. And that's where things get really interesting. Let's talk about consumption. In America, consumer spending makes up 68% of the entire economy. That sounds great, right? It means we're all out here spending, keeping the economy alive, except we're not. Here's the truth. 50% of all consumer spending is done by just the top 10% of households. Read that again. Half of everything bought in America, cars, clothes, vacations, is purchased by 1 in 10 families. Meanwhile, the bottom 60%, they account for less than 20% of spending. And a growing chunk of that is funded by credit card debt at 25% interest. So let me paint you a picture. Imagine 200 million Americans just stopped spending tomorrow. Completely.
You'd think the economy would collapse, right? Nope. Because the top 10% would just keep buying luxury cars, building bigger houses, and investing in AI data centers. And those data centers, by the way, contributed more to GDP growth last quarter than personal consumption did. Let me say that again. Robots got more economic credit than humans. Your spending? It's a rounding error. You've been demoted from consumer to economic extra. Okay, so maybe you don't spend much. But you work, right? You contribute through labor. Surely that counts for something. Well, not really. 40 years ago, jobs meant something. You had a career. Companies invested in you. Today, losing your job is a meme. Literally, people make TikToks about getting laid off. And it's not because we're lazy. It's because your job has been standardized into oblivion. Think about it. Bank managers used to be respected experts who knew their clients and made judgment calls. Replacing one took a year of mentoring. Now, they're glorified loan salesmen following a script. A computer pulls your credit score, and any 22-year-old with a week of training can do the job. Same with travel agents, stockbrokers, even junior analysts. Technology didn't just make you more productive, it made you replaceable. And AI? It's not going to steal your job overnight. It's just going to keep making you easier to swap out, like a light bulb. Now, here's where people usually say, but if nobody has jobs, who's going to buy stuff? And the answer is, people who don't need jobs because they own assets. Which brings us to the final nail in the coffin. The system isn't broken. It was built this way. The Plutonomy Memo wasn't just a prediction, it was a playbook, an investment strategy. The goal isn't just to sell luxury goods to the rich, it's to turn the entire economy into a luxury good. Housing, infrastructure, healthcare, all being converted into assets for the wealthy to trade. They aren't building an economy for everyone, they're building an economy for owners. Your paycheck is a liability to them. Your consumption is a rounding error. Your purpose in this economy is to pay rent and service debt on assets they own. So the next time you hear a politician say the economy is strong, you have to ask the real question. For who? Because according to the people who designed it, it's not strong for you. It was never supposed to be.
Let's talk about the productivity scam. Because if you think your job has been standardized, wait until you hear this. Over the last 40 years, worker productivity has doubled. That means you are literally producing twice as much value per hour as your parents did. Twice the output, twice the efficiency. So your paycheck must have doubled too, right? Wrong. Adjusted for inflation, median wages have only gone up 20% in 40 years. Let me break that down for you. You're working twice as hard, producing twice as much, and getting paid basically the same. So where did all that extra money go? Up. CEO pay has increased by 1,460% since 1978. That is not a typo. Meanwhile, your wages went up 20%. It's like you and your boss both ran a marathon, but he got a Ferrari and you got a $20 gift card to Applebee's. And here's the kicker. They call this efficiency gains. You became more efficient, they became more rich. You're not failing at capitalism, you're succeeding at making someone else rich. And the worst part? They've convinced you it's your fault you can't afford a house. All right, so your job is disposable. What about investing? That's the ticket, right? Well, yes, if you're actually investing, but here's the reality. The top 10% of Americans own 93% of all stocks. The bottom 90%, we own just 7%. And a huge chunk of that group is paying off high-interest debt while buying fractional shares of Tesla. Let me be blunt. If you're paying 22% interest on a credit card while buying fractional shares of Tesla, you're not an investor. You're just bad at math. You're essentially taking out a loan to gamble. And here's the cruel irony. Your debt is making rich people richer. Because guess who owns the credit card companies, the auto lenders, and the banks collecting that 20% interest? The same people who own 93% of the stock market. So while you're grinding to pay off your car, they're collecting interest and watching their portfolios grow. You're not participating in the economy. You're fueling it, like coal in a furnace. Now, this might all sound like some dystopian conspiracy theory, but it's not. In 2005, Citigroup published a report for their ultra-wealthy clients. It was called the Plutonomy Memo, and in it, they described exactly what we're living through right now. Here's a direct quote. "There is no such thing as the U.S. consumer. There are rich consumers, few in number, but disproportionate in the income and consumption they take. The rest are the non-rich, the many, but accounting for surprisingly small bites of the national pie." They literally said the economy doesn't need average people anymore. Their advice to wealthy clients? Invest in companies that sell to other wealthy people. Because everyone else is irrelevant. Citigroup has tried to scrub this report from the internet, but it's still out there. And here's the scariest part. The report identified one major risk to this system: democracy. Because even though the rich control the economy, votes are still distributed equally. One person, one vote. Their biggest fear? That regular people might actually use that power. Fortunately for them,
We don't. So here's where we are. You don't matter as a consumer. Your labor is replaceable. And unless you're in the top 10%, your investments are just expensive hobbies. The economy has become a closed loop. The rich spend, invest, and profit off each other. The rest of us, we're just here. Now, I'm not saying this to depress you. I'm saying it because you need to know the game you're actually playing. You can't win if you don't know the rules. Step 1 is simple. Stop pretending the system works for you, because it doesn't.